Imposter syndrome speaks with the voice of procrastination.
Well, who am I, right? Who am I to be on the stage?
I had no idea what I was doing. Even if you think your story isn't good enough, that's your call to action. If you're not feeling imposter syndrome, then you're not allowing yourself to use your gifts.
When you face that imposter syndrome, you get to do something great. You get to make a difference. Hey guys, welcome to Armoury Podcast, episode number 4. Myself and Joanne are just back from Edmonton, Alberta, where we attended the Evolve Strength Summit put on by Andrew Coates, my main man. Thank you so much for all the work that would have taken and that incredible lineup. Now on the podcast, me and Joanne, we're going to talk about something that resonated with us that one of the key speakers said there. It's something that we feel we all need to be really good at facing if we want to achieve our fullest potential and achieve our goals in life. Also, at the end, I'm going to share with you what I feel could be a life-changing quote that could take you to the next level. Hang in there and enjoy. One thing that me and Joanne were talking about on the drive home that we're going to dive into here is Dean admitted being on the stage in front of hundreds of people that he suffers from huge imposter syndrome. And it wasn't like he used to, but he overcame that. And now he's on stage and all of us little guys are down listening to him. No, he's saying right now, in the moment, I continually suffer from imposter syndrome. And me and Joe talked about that a bit as he dove into that and talked about some of his mistakes. And we really realized, man, we need to apply some things in our life and to do a little bit better and overcome it ourselves, face it rather. And Joe, you had a really good quote when we were talking about this, having to do with the self-doubt and facing it. And I would like you to word it for me.
Well, every once in a while I do have, I can word things fairly well. And what came to me, because it's my own practice, was that imposter syndrome speaks with the voice of procrastination. So that's kind of how it manifests itself. How you hear it is by procrastinating. Mm-hmm. So, I know in my professional life and my personal life, a lot of times I will procrastinate because I feel like maybe what I have to say isn't worth hearing, or I don't quite have enough experience, or the kind of the exact same things that Dean Somerset was saying. Mm-hmm. And it really brought it home to me as well that if somebody like Dean, who is a internationally known speaker and can command a room of thousands and has done, he's not a newcomer to speaking, writing, all of that, putting on workshops. If he still continually has to overcome imposter syndrome, then why do I feel like that has a right to keep me from doing things?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think that's the point that we both kind of came away with, I personally have a dream to also speak and to be on a stage and to command a room. And, I thought, going to an event like that, why am I not on the stage? Why am I not doing that right now? Is it because, I'm not valuable? Is it because I don't have things to offer, powerful things to share with the crowd? Are those the things? No. Those are not the things that are keeping me back. What's holding me back is I haven't taken enough action in the right direction, and it comes back to this imposter syndrome with well who am I, right? Who am I to be on the stage? Who am I to tell all these people who probably are like better than me, or we've got Dean Somerset on stage, we got Don Saladino on stage, like. Come on now, Matt Manta, why would you be on the stage? But that voice, by yielding to it through procrastination, what it does is it keeps you stuck, and it keeps you discouraged in your place, and that you have all the talent you need, you have all the ability you need. But that's what I realized. He's about my age. He became a fitness pro not much before I did, but he's put on workshops, like you said. He's traveled all around the world, and I think a big part of it is, yes, he has some knowledge, obviously, that I don't have in certain areas, but he simply faced that imposter syndrome. He's put on courses and workshops, and he said there, I put on this workshop, had no idea what I was doing, and but I put a camera there, I put it online, and I was able to sell it online, you know, and I did this, had no idea what I was doing, and he was willing to face that over and over, and he's still facing it this weekend, going on stage with that lineup, being invited to be there. It's because he's put in the reps in the right direction to achieve what he wants to achieve, to be able to make the impact that he wants to make.
Well, and I think even, for example, I know you've said that as well. When you first opened your facility and, invited people to come and you would coach them and, this group fitness. And it wasn't until I started working with you that you said to me, like, I had no idea what I was doing. And I thought, really?
Which is true.
Which apparently is true. But we didn't know that.
No.
And it didn't look that way. You didn't come off as somebody who didn't know what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
But I know now from experience when I first started coaching as well, feeling like I had no idea what I was doing, even though I had been in class and I had, taken certifications and I had shadowed and I had, been mentored. Even just doing my first classes, taking my first classes, leading my first classes on my own, I felt very much like I have no idea what I'm doing up here, and I was gonna. And sometimes I felt, I know you would ask me afterwards, how did it go? And I just feel like it didn't go well at all. And then I'd get a message from somebody saying how much they enjoyed the class.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's important to know that everybody has imposter syndrome. Dean Somerset, Don Saladino, anybody at that level has imposter syndrome. You with more experience coaching and speaking and, you're having imposter syndrome. I'm still fairly new to this. I have imposter syndrome. So it's not something that we have to fear or feel like it has the right to hold us back or we're waiting to take action. It's the reason to take action.
Boom. I think that is extremely well worded. I think what you're saying is so true. It's that too many people, or most people even, they think there's something wrong with me because I'm feeling like this. There's something that I've got to sort it out. I've got to overcome it. And I know for myself with the procrastination and following that, it's like, well, I need to read one more book, or I need to take one more course, and then I'll feel ready. Then I won't feel this uncomfortable feeling that I feel is holding me back, and then I'm really going to be able to rock towards what I say I want to do and who I want to become. But the problem is, as we're talking about, and as these speakers on stage and so many professionals, high level achievers have demonstrated, the feeling never went away. They just chose to face it and face it continually. And we talked about, I like how you talked about it like strength training. They just put in the reps.
You got to put in the reps.
They just put in the reps, and even though it was uncomfortable, and even though there was uncertainties, and even though there was doubt, they chose, like someone who wants to build their physique, well, 3 or 4 times a week, you got to be putting in the reps, and you got to be giving it your best. But if it's like, oh, I don't quite feel ready to put in the reps today, to lift the weight today, I'm going to wait until I feel more comfortable, or better, or whatever it is, I've overcome this feeling, then I'm going to put in the reps.
And we see that especially with somebody new that is stepping into the facility. And, you try and tell them, look, you only have to do your first class once. You never have to do your first class again. It will feel a little more comfortable. But then, of course, the programming changes, or you never feel completely ready. And I know you have a great story about somebody who basically said that exact same thing. So why don't you share that?
Well, it's true. We've got a member named Rachel.
Shout out
Squats. Shout out to Squats, the nickname, which you have very much earned. But it was funny. I had an ad going, hey, we're taking on a few new members. Anyone interested? And I got an email from this girl I'd never met named Rachel. And she emailed me saying, like, hey, I've followed you guys on social media. Like, it looks amazing what you do, and like, I'm interested. But she's like, I'm like, her exact words were like, but I'm currently doubting myself. So maybe I see you down the road, right? Or like basically once I overcome that doubt, then I'll see you. I really want to come. I'm just currently doubting
Just
myself.
not quite ready.
Yeah, exactly, right? Because of the doubt. So I looked at it, I read it, right? I never met this person. And, being in the industry and owning a business for some time, you have a lot of conversations, email, ads, for attracting new members, right? And I kind of weighed it 50-50. I could say, okay, yeah, down the road, maybe we'll see you, all the best. But I'm like, no,
No.
that's not working for me right now. So very kindly, I said, like, hi Rachel, thank you for reaching out. And I just hit her with the truth. It's like, unfortunately, it saddens me to say that we will actually never meet if your attitude stays like this. And I said, because the only way for that doubt to go away is for you to face it. You have to walk in the doors and be willing to face that doubt, and that doubt will change. That doubt will possibly go away. But if you're waiting for it to go away, we're both going to be waiting forever, girl. So why don't you just get in the door and we book a meeting? And I was like, see you later, Matt, right? And that's one of them. Well, if this person doesn't respond back, well, whatever. I hit them with the truth. I don't think I was too hard on them or anything. And sure enough, she messaged back and she put like a ha emoji and laughed. And she's like, man, I think you have a point. Yeah, sure, I'll take you up on that meeting, whatever day, whatever time, right? And so she faced that fear, that doubt, and lo and behold, she signs up. She gets into a team training right away, which is quite challenging.
Yes.
Whatever crazy person is programming that
Yeah,
stuff.
no idea who that is.
um, it's quite challenging. And she's just right into that. And we started her slow. We're there to take care of people, not destroy them. We got to meet people where they're at. But she had a great attitude. She was willing to do her best. She was okay to modify. And here she is now, months later. Look at the progress she's made. Look at the confidence that she's gained. Look how she continues to come back stronger. Where if she didn't make that decision to take me up on my message and see maybe I have a point, and if she was still just trying to overcome that self-doubt, that doubt in herself, tell me how much progress she's made.
Well, and I think you did a really good job of pointing out that her imposter syndrome or her doubt was actually her call to action.
Dang.
That was her call to action. And she's come in like we've seen so often. The first class is you're nervous, but great encouraging and supportive community. You make it through. You feel pretty good that, hey, I did this. I wasn't sure if I could, but I did this. And then coming back and doing it again. And it's putting in those reps that brings the confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a conversation with Josie. So shout out to Josie for this one. And she said to me, it was something to the effect of, you just are always so confident. And where does that confidence come from? Well, shocker, Josie, I'm not always confident. Definitely not. I have some life lessons and some skills that have helped me build that confidence.
Mm-hmm.
But my confidence as a coach has come from putting in the reps on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
My confidence in not being afraid of a confrontation that I feel needs to happen is from life experience and from putting in the reps with having to deal with difficult situations. So I think it's important to not see it as something that you let keep you from trying something, from working with something, but a call to action to actually do it. And we both, I know on our trip back from the Evolve Strength Summit, talked about where we felt that we were letting our doubt and that imposter syndrome procrastination voice keep us from doing what we know we need to do. So I know we've both started taking steps. You made a was it to Dean Somerset? You made him a promise.
Well, yeah, shout out to Dean. Yeah, it's true, right? It's like, okay, he said, what's one thing and that I can work on, and we named it. And he's like, yeah, I want to hear from you in 2 weeks. Let's have 2 weeks. I got this accountability. This busy guy shows the top-notch type of people that were there, but it's like, let's get it going. Let's stop that procrastination. You know what you need to do, right? So now it's a matter of doing it, right? And you yourself, and so far you're a perfect 2 for 2.
I'm 2 for
Made
2,
yourself
man.
a promise. Hit me what one thing that you haven't been doing that you know you should be doing.
Well, I haven't been posting any real original content on my social media. I will repost other, things I think, man, that was inspiring. Boy, that really spoke to me. And so I'll repost it. I'll shout them out. I'll, send it to people. But there's a little piece of me that thinks, I have some ideas too. And I have some thoughts, but I'm just literally average Joe from small town Didsbury. I've only been in this industry for it's right around 5 years now. 6 years that I've been training. I don't know anybody. I'm not connected or anything like this. Why in the world would anybody want to hear from me? And I started thinking, we talked about this. Well, if I put out an original thought or a little story or an experience I had, and I put it out there, what exactly am I risking? Why am I holding this back? If I put it out there and nobody likes it, okay. If I put it out there and somebody disagrees with it, as long as it is kept, within a decent conversation, fine. I don't expect people to always agree with me. Sometimes it can be a lot of fun, and you learn a lot when somebody does disagree with you. But why am I not doing this? And it was simply this whole procrastination because of imposter syndrome. I read and follow, these incredible people with, including yourself, with large social media followings, or they're sought after, international speakers. And that was the first event that I've been able to attend, which I thoroughly enjoyed, and I learned so much. But even walking into that, it was like, why does anybody want to talk to me? Of course, I'm going to make sure I meet people, but do they want to meet me? And I had to overcome that, and that call to action, that it's actually because I do have a story. And it's different than everybody else's. I might not have been in this since I was 13 or had the same challenges as anybody else, but I have a story too. And if it helps empower one person, well, why would I withhold that? Why wouldn't I share it?
And I think that's amazing. The word you used there was story, right? And I think that's so true. When we doubt ourselves, like we're not good enough, we don't have enough knowledge or talent or whatever. That's not actually what matters or where the impact is. It's that nobody has your story. Nobody has my story, right? And we've already found, talk about imposter syndrome. Here we are, Armoury podcast, episode number 4. We're rocking, and we get 43 views, or we get like it's not like we're on this massive crazy scale, or anything, but this
Yet.
Yes. Thank you, everyone who's sharing, posting, subscribing. Please keep that going to get the message out there. But talk about the self-doubt and the imposter syndrome. It's the same. I think we would both agree. Like, well, who are we to make a podcast when you got all these other amazing podcasts out there? You got Ed Milet. You got these guys that we really admire and I look up to. And yet, the thing talking about story and such, I remember a few weeks ago you hit me with a message with a friend of yours who had watched our episode where we were talking about a bit about my story.
Episode 2.
Right. So my story, right? And lo and behold, here's someone that isn't watching Ed Milet. She doesn't know Ed Milet. She isn't checking out Don Saladino stuff or anything. But here comes the Armoury podcast, and Matt Matai is sharing his story, and she knows you, so she's happy to listen to it, and she gets kind of this earth-shattering realization, being hearing impaired herself, as I shared, and I said that it's a gift, and she had never looked at it before like that, right? Think all the challenges, think all the difficulty, so. Just for one person, that's so motivating for me and encouraging that here we are facing our own imposter syndrome, but with those little stories like that trickling in, well, when you face that imposter syndrome, you get to do something great. You get to make a difference.
You get to make a difference.
Yeah.
And that's a way of I don't really like the expression paying it forward, but it's a way of fulfilling your purpose. And yeah, when I got that message from her that she was sitting in a hotel room and she had listened to the podcast and it had such an impact on her, I thought, wow, you know, we've been friends since we were in junior high, and for that story to have such an impact, I think is such a gift to help somebody see something instead of as something that they need to hide or overcome or apologize for. Now it's like maybe it could be a superpower. And I think had you held on to your imposter syndrome, or the procrastination and not wanting to share your story because for whatever reason, well, now it wouldn't have impacted her. And who knows where that goes. So I think it's really important to realize that even if you think your story isn't good enough, isn't impactful enough, oh, I haven't been through enough, or it's just I'm from a small town, whatever the reasons are, that's your call to action.
And I think that's a good thing as well that you said, and that everybody's imposter syndrome is going to show up in different ways because we are different people and we have different stories. But it's actually a guidepost, right? Because not everybody needs to start a podcast or needs to want to be a speaker at a fitness conference or post on social media every day. But why do we feel imposter syndrome in those places? It's because it's a sign, an affirmation of something that we desire to do, right?
Yes.
And that's where you're going to feel it. We talked a bit, and I think it's true. I don't feel imposter syndrome with doing brain surgery on somebody.
No.
You know what I
No.
mean? Where I absolutely should feel it. It's nothing
And
at all.
take action. And
Take action. Just act. Put in the reps, baby. Any volunteers? Right?
say no.
Right. For the brain surgery with me, it's because I don't have an aspiration to be a brain surgeon. So you don't have any doubt created there. I don't feel that's what I'm really called to do. I don't feel that's I'm supposed to put in the 20 years of schooling and whatever it would take. So it doesn't show up there. It shows up in places in where you desire most to be an impact and what you choose to achieve. So really, talking about a gift, it's another gift, and then it's a guidepost. You're sitting around wondering what you should be doing or feeling like you're failing or, oh man, life isn't measuring up this way or that. Well, basically, I think you're like, well, where do I feel imposter syndrome? And what am I going to do about it?
And what am I going to do about it?
Right?
Exactly. If you're not feeling imposter syndrome, you're either, I don't know, maybe a narcissist,
Yeah.
or you're not doing anything. You're not allowing yourself to use your gifts,
Yes.
to use what your talents or your purpose. Or if you're not feeling imposter syndrome, you should be going places where you do. That's where you should be. That's where you should be heading.
Write that one down. Boom.
Oh, another good
That
one.
hit me. That hit me. No, that is a great way to put it. I think talking about, again, coming back to waiting for it to go away so then I can then become who I want and take the actions that I want for whatever reason, right? And become who I want. It just doesn't work that way. We're actually supposed to go towards it. We're supposed to lean into it. And whether that means posting once a day on social media, that's facing that voice of procrastination. That's leaning into it. It's very easy to do, right? Takes a little effort, a little time, but it's also very easy not to do. And a year can go by without taking that small action. And now possibly we don't get different opportunities. We don't get to make the impact that we could have made because you weren't putting in those reps. But that's in line with where you want to go. And just with me, with with the business and with really having that deep desire, that aspiration to one day speak on a stage and to reach a further audience and make a bigger impact. Well, that doesn't happen overnight, but a year can go by and not make much progress, or it can be just little by little, rep by rep, with the things I need to be doing. It can be exponential growth and amazing things, just like the speakers on stage we're talking about. That's how it was for them. And that's because they're human, and that's how it is for everybody. It's a matter of whether we're willing to actually see what we're avoiding and willing to step into the gym like Rachel did,
and
you know,
and then put in the
and then
reps
put in
and
the
put in the
reps,
reps and
right?
put in more reps.
Yes, realize what you want to achieve and put in the reps on social media. Realize what I want to achieve and put in the reps towards speaking on a higher level. This is areas we feel imposter syndrome, right? I'm sure Rachel would say she didn't feel like she belonged in the gym. She didn't feel like she didn't feel ready. She felt that doubt, but it's what she wanted, right? It's
She
what
wanted to do it.
she wanted to do it because she wants to achieve a certain result with her body, with her mind, with her life, and that's where the imposter syndrome shows up, right? Lo and behold, she faced that. She now gets to move forward, and then recreate. Just think from that one decision. It's like how that they use the analogy of like a sailboat going across the ocean, just 1 degree, right? Just off a little bit, how different of a course that charts. But knowing no matter what you choose, you're always going to be facing that imposter syndrome. It's just going to be on higher and higher levels. What starts with social media then is maybe now speaking in front of people, or creating things that you're putting out there saying, hey, here you go, do you guys like this, and taking those chances, those risks. But that's what leads to opportunity, that's what leads to growth, that's what leads to where we want to go. You have to continually face it.
And I like the image of leaning in. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it when it's getting uncomfortable, when it's the doubt, when it's the procrastination, when it's you got to lean in.
Mm-hmm.
You don't turn back, you don't turn away, you don't try and avoid it, you lean in.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we both started that. Uh, you know, of course, I'm going to make sure I have every confidence in you, and you
Likewise.
that's part of it too. Is putting it out there. Like now that our 43 viewers or whoever's watching this knows that they can see if I've been posting, and Dean Somerset's, that every day goes by on the calendar, you
Hey.
got 2 weeks there, you got to get that project done. I think that helps as well.
Mm-hmm.
But the most important thing is that I know that this will lead somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a huge risk involved, but it's going to lead somewhere. And if I don't lean in, it leads nowhere. And the last thing I
Disappointment,
want to be
frustration.
is to be stuck in the same place with the same imposter syndrome voice, and just getting comfortable hearing it.
Mm-hmm.
No,
And feeling that's going to be a lot more
yeah,
painful than any small uncomfortable action you could take
yes,
to face the imposter syndrome. And I think that's the thing. It feels easier to do nothing, to not face it, to say tomorrow, to say after I read another book, but it actually becomes more and more painful knowing that you're not leaning in, you're not facing what you need to be to go
absolutely.
where you want to go. And I was listening to I can't remember who it was recently, just a motivational video, always trying to fill my head with positive things. And he said, everybody who's in the top 10% of their field today was once in the bottom 10%.
This is true. This
Because
is
they had to
true.
start,
Right.
right? And that includes some of the names we mentioned, big names, hundreds of thousands of followers on social media now, speaking on the big stages, and just this incredible community that they've built, like these top-notch people all supporting each other. They all had to start from the bottom. Like we all do. They had to start, but I think too many people aren't willing to be in that bottom 10%, i.e., not start at all, not face it, not lean in, not any of those terms we face, because it feels kind of crappy to be on the bottom
It
10%.
really does.
Like the Armoury podcast right now.
Right now,
would be
just for now.
would probably for right now, I would say, as far as viewers, as far as different stuff, it's in the bottom 10% of podcasts when you're looking at, or name the big names, right? That get millions of views and everything, and they're really making an impact. They had to start with one viewer. They had to start with one post.
They had to start with one rep.
No, they had to start with that one rep. And I think that rep is painful. That rep comes laced with a lot of doubt and a lot of challenge and a lot of uncertainty. That rep, I've never done that rep before, and then that self-doubt. And the problem is when we're not willing to do that rep, well, just like strength training, you don't get to get any results.
You
You don't
don't.
get any progress.
You don't get stronger. You
Mm-hmm.
stay where you are
Mm-hmm.
with the same aches and pains and the same talk.
Yes, yes, and I think really if we're gonna dive like with strength training, it's like you only have to start once, have your first class at the gym once, your first social media post once, which is true, which is difficult, but then what I'm thinking out loud on the spot is just, each rep from there seems to be worth a little bit more.
Hmm.
You can't get to that 10th super challenging, close to failure, really stretching yourself rep without the second rep and the third rep. And that's really, I think, what we're talking about. The way that I get to the stage and speak there's a lot of reps that have to happen.
There's a lot of
But
reps.
just think, if I do the reps and the opportunity, I take it when it comes, and then let's say that's the 10th rep, because now I'm really getting some growth. Now I'm really I'm speaking in front of that wider audience, and then from there it's like, ooh, maybe I can squeak out an 11th rep. But if you're not willing to do the first rep,
You
you
won't get to the 10th
you don't
or
you
the
don't
11th.
you don't get that rep,
Right.
right? So I think there's with everything we talked about, there's a quote
I
that
was
I
just
want
going to ask you that we were talking just before we started recording, and Matt's got a great quote that kind of sums this up.
So it's not an original for me, but I was just reading it. It's Stephen Pressfield, who wrote an awesome book, The War of Art, and he says, "The amateur believes he must first overcome his fear. Then he can do his work. The professional knows that fear can never be overcome. He knows there is no such thing as a fearless warrior or a dread-free artist."
Boom, baby.
Boom, baby. So I think that really sums up what we're talking about with imposter syndrome. And him in his book, he's coming at this from all different angles, and it really, I think, lines up nicely with what the whole thing that we're talking about. Like dread. That's a strong
That's a
word.
strong
It's like,
word.
wait a minute, I thought you wanted this. I do. I'm just, there's some dread involved, right? And when we avoid that dread, when we avoid that uncertainty, when we avoid that doubt, because we're waiting for it to go away, and then we're gonna do our work, whatever that is, right? For each individual. Then, and just like Rachel with the gym, that's pretty much what I was telling her
Right.
in my advice. If the longer you avoid it, the longer it doesn't happen. You,
Right.
you don't get to make progress. We have to find a way to get uncomfortable, to face that fear, face that uncertainty, knowing that it's never going to go away. It's never going to go away.
And knowing if you're not putting in the reps, if you're not doing it, and you're still waiting for that time, that you're allowing the voice of procrastination to block you,
To drive your life,
to drive your
block you,
life.
take control.
Gotta lean in.
Gotta lean in, baby. Hey guys, that's all we got for you today. I hope you took something positive and uplifting from what we're talking about. I challenge you. Me and Joe talked personally about some things we want to achieve and how we've been influenced. But what are you gonna do today? What are you procrastinating on? You can't do everything all at once, just like Dean Somerset was telling me. And he challenged me to do one thing, one small thing. And he's holding me accountable for that. So I challenge you, where do you feel that imposter syndrome? Where do you feel you're not ready yet? And what one small thing can you do to start leaning in and taking some action? Because as those reps add up, you'll find you start getting jacked over time and learning that strength is the way, because you were willing to start. You were willing to be in the bottom 10% of whatever you want to achieve. And maybe one day you'll find yourself in the top 10. Thank you so much. Please like and subscribe. If you enjoyed this, feel free to give it a share or put any questions, or maybe you disagree with us even and you want to challenge us on something.
Oh, bring it on.
Fire away. Joanne loves a good argument.
I really do.
So I'll put her in charge of that, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.